Guys, I don't know if you've heard of this little movie called Insidious. I know I'm late to the party on this one, but if you're like me and you hadn't seen Insidious, holy shit, stop what you're doing and go watch Insidious. What starts as a haunted house film quickly morphs into something much more, as the Lambert family's son experiences some kind of coma, but without any symptoms of one, aside from the ability to wake up. Spooky occurrences force them out of their new home, but they find no respite in the next one either. I'm glad I watched Insidious during the daytime, because there are easily a dozen moments where if I'd been watching this in the dark, I'd have thrown my notepad across the room and hid under the blankets. There's some DNA of poltergeist being used for the story structure here, but ultimately that never bothered me. No, the only thing about this entire film that did was a rather strange moment where the parents investigate their comatose son's drawings and realize that the supernatural storyline they need convincing of is in fact 100% true. And I say that's weird not because they go digging for them in a box or something, but they're just up on the kid's wall and they're the ones who hung them there in the first place, cause, you know, he's in a coma, but they act like these drawings are a revelation. They've been looking at them forever, like every day. Anyway, look, you can be a cynical son of a bitch and just look at this movie and laugh, but if you're wanting something truly scary and are willing to commit to it, Insidious does not disappoint. It is truly fantastic. I loved it. One of the smartest things about the first film is how it lays the groundwork for a bigger franchise in this universe without actually being obnoxious about it. The Conjuring, from the same director, was also good about this. But that film's follow-up, Annabelle, was pretty disappointing, so I was hoping it was not that, and also not Poltergeist 2. Yet oddly, in a way, Insidious Chapter 2 has the same trace of Poltergeist 2 in it that the first film had of Poltergeist. It's also very much the Back to the Future 2 of this franchise. All of these things are hard to explain casually, and even though I'm sure everyone has seen these by now, I still don't want to get too spoilery. Virtually the entire cast and crew of the first film are back, and while Chapter 2 is a good movie, it suffers for not being the first one. It doesn't seem to be as well thought out, and there's a lot of first-person camera work that feels like a bit of a cheat sometimes. The scares and the atmosphere are definitely here, but I don't necessarily like the direction this story has taken. Don't get me wrong, I don't feel like I should be dictating where this story goes, but this particular storyline just didn't work for me as much as the first film did. It would be something really amazing had the first film not existed. Still though, recommended. Chapter 3 of the Insidious franchise is a prequel, and man, did that news suck all the wind out of my sails. The second film resolved the Lambert family storyline, and despite ending with a hook for another story, this jettisons that and goes back a couple years before the first film. That places the film around the mid-2000s, and you know that's where we are because of all the talk about blogs, and the ridiculous amount of screen time a T-Mobile sidekick gets. Although sadly, that thing never becomes as big of a plot point as I was hoping it would. Mostly new characters are menaced in an apartment building, and I'll be damned if that brief plot synopsis doesn't contain the essence of Poltergeist 3. Look, I'm not crazy to keep seeing this. The blueprints of all these movies contain hints from the Poltergeist trilogy. It's there. It's right there. Chapter 3 is okay. It's Chuck fine, if you will, but definitely a letdown from the first two films. The two earlier entries did a lot of world building, and now it feels like we have to start all over again. Also, it has all the problems prequels have, in that it has to put a bunch of pieces into place for continuity's sake. Because characters appear in this that show up later in the first two films, there's a huge lack of tension, knowing that many of the people here are perfectly safe, even though this series is not known for having high body counts. So yeah, diminishing returns as this franchise moves along, but all three are probably definitely worth watching, especially the first one. I cannot stress that enough. I love the first film. It is so good.
Explain when there are few words I can choose. How can I explain when words get wrong?